smaller the checker, the more space it covers. And usually you want them to be relatively the same size. So right now that piece is a little bit big. Those checker grids and that nose are a lot smaller. So I'm going to just scale it back down a little bit until they're close in size. That looks all right. You'll notice it's not perfect though. I do have some warbling texture. It's a little bit of tearing. So some of the cylindrical projections doing it's causing a little bit of distortion. You could try splitting it maybe. Or just leave it alone. It's not a big deal. It's just going to warp your texture a tiny, tiny bit. We could like try to cylindrically wrap like 2 of these rows instead of all of them.
Like when you put the texture on, can you do like a cylindrical wrap and just kind of have it like take it to them and kind of push it like
We could cut this piece off and sew it to the front, to this piece, to the fuselage. Because that's what's kind of happening is there's not a lot of overlap there. See how like each piece kind of has like its own facet, whereas that one's kind of flat. So I think that's why it's happening. It's pretty minimal, and I was planning on putting a solid color there, so I'm not too worried.
Okay.
But I could cut it some more and sew it to the front of these pieces. We could cut this outer ring off and then stitch it over here on these. I don't think it's totally necessary. If this was like a hero object, like it was the whole thing I was rendering, model scene,
Right.
yeah, maybe.
Oh, is there angles there? Sort of like how Max has it?
There's like straight UVs. I wouldn't recommend on that part, but yeah, you don't necessarily want that. There is, like, you mean like 15-degree snaps?
Yeah.
If you are rotating and then hold J, it snaps perfectly for this.
Alright.
Yeah, so what you guys missed is we found the fuselage pieces. We're basically working from the biggest pieces down. So what we did is we found the fuselage pieces, and we packed them in here, scaled them a little bit, rotated them. Then we put this middle part right there, the part that's under the tower. We put that here, rotated it a bit, made it fit in that recess. And then we grabbed the nose cone here, and we just kind of scaled that. We moved it up in here in space. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm really trying to put this in there as tight as I can. So I'm only leaving a few pixels worth of space here on the outer edge and over here against the submarine. Everywhere there's not UVs is wasted space. I'm not saying you have to get it perfect, but you want to do as good a job as you can. So just as long as things aren't overlapping.
So I mean, with this, with the submarine, we are going to have space. So we just blow up everything.
You just make it as big as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but try to get there.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when I got 2 of them connected to one another, I can't
So
tell
you
where
go
I
to
need
the
to
edge
cut,
mode
right?
and select where they are touching.
Trying to, these 2.
So you zoom in. That one little tiny blue piece. Select that piece. Right there. And now hit cut. And now they're 2 separate pieces.
Oh, okay,
So go back
okay.
into shell mode.
Shell mode.
I stepped on a nail yesterday and my foot still hurts.
Oh, I hate that. I stepped on one.
Like stepped on it, like where it went through your shoe.
It went through my shoe, oh, my foot.
Tetanus shot time.
Hell yeah.
I have one. I looked it up, and if you have one in 10 years and it's not too bad of a wound, you're okay. If
It's only a flesh wound.
It's only a flesh wound. If it was really bad, if it's a really bad like puncture, then you should. If you haven't had one in 5 years, you should go. But I think I'll do.
I had one go through my work boot.
Yeah, it only probably went in maybe like a quarter inch before I stopped my foot.
Mine was pretty bad.
If you think it's really bad, then you look up tetanus shot, you see what happens when you get one, and you're like, it's not that bad, it's probably bad.
It probably was bad. It's probably worse than you think.
You're talking yourself out of it.
Alright, I was getting locked up.
Okay.
No, actually, like, the poison that you get from tetanus sounds horrible.
Yeah, just live the rest of your life as a vegetable, you'll be alright.
Yeah, eventually it goes away if it doesn't kill you.
If it doesn't kill you.
If it doesn't kill
That's
you.
If it doesn't kill you.
everything.
Is there a way to flip UVs?
Yes. If you need to flip UVs, there's not a line and snap. Transform? Transform lets you change your pivots. It also lets you do, where is it? Yeah, flip. Alright, so the next big pieces are probably these fins. So we need to think about how we want to use these fins. How many of you guys are in Jeff's ZBrush class? A couple of you, right? So if you are in ZBrush, and you do a model and then you know, like say I want to save space on my texture, so I'm gonna find these two vertical fins right here, right? So I'm gonna find both halves of it. Right? They're right there, they're opposing each other. I'm gonna go ahead and move them up here next to each other. I could just say like, hey, I'm gonna flip this one by hitting the flip tool and then stack them right on top of each other. We did that a lot for our like UV textures, right? For that one scene? Or the barrel and all that? Yeah. You can do that. That is definitely like an older technique to save space. Because now I can make this bigger, right? It has half the space. The problem is though, if I'm using a sculpting program like ZBrush, that's gonna break it. You can't overlap UVs in like a sculpting program like ZBrush. So if you ever intend your models to end up in ZBrush in some way, either to paint textures or to do 3D modeling or sculpting on it, you cannot overlap UVs. So I think here I have probably enough space. So maybe I can do a little bit of that. I'm not super worried though. Yeah, I was actually thinking of grouping them in pairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's 4 of them that are the same size and you got 2 small.
Yeah. So I'll find those 2 vertical pieces of the fins right here. And you know what, I flipped one, so I should probably not flip it. There we go. Yeah, and I'm just gonna line them up. So I'll find this, I'll use E to bring up my rotation tool and just kinda straighten it out. And I'll do the same thing to the other one. Just put them like really close, almost like butt them up together. And I gotta think, when I get into Photoshop, say I wanna add a number. I want to add a number to this side of the fin. Does this match how it looks on this side? If I go in here and do like a 3, is it going to be a 3 the right way, or is it going to be like a backwards 3? So I need to make sure I'm logically placing these in the right places. Otherwise, it might get flipped UVs, and that would be bad.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so I'm making sure, yes, this is the left one, anything I'm doing. So if I do a 3 this way, it should do a 3 this way. That looks right. It may be wrong when I get in there, but we'll try. Yeah, we'll try to go right. So I have these fins put together. I'll go ahead and select them both, move them together. Remember, if you have pieces that have a mate, have duplicate pieces like that, you don't want to scale them independently. You want to scale them together. All right, so I'm going to do this horizontal tail fin here in the back. Find those 2 pieces. It looks like this one and this one. So I'm going to go ahead and move into some empty space on my texture. Rotate this one flat. I move this one up. Now this piece is, they're both facing forward, right? So I think it makes more sense for me to put them facing the same orientation this way, facing forward. That way, in Photoshop, I can just go in here and say like I want to put USA, right? Like US. If I have this flipped, I have to remember myself in Photoshop, oh, I want to, if I had it this way, I'd have to make sure I wrote the US backwards. You know, I'd have to do it like this to make sure it looks right on the texture. So instead of doing that, I think it makes more sense for it to be in the same orientation. So there's like little weird things like that. You kind of have to like, you do some like mental gymnastics. You're doing like those trends. You're flipping those things in your head and trying to think ahead on how they're going to affect your texture making. And if you ever screw it up, you can always go back in and fix it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't destroy the object. You just got to be aware of it. And there's something you get with practice. So I'm going to move those pieces over. Find the next set of tail fins. So those are up here by the tower and the bridge in the front. Right there. And they kind of follow that same orientation, right? They're facing forward, so I'm going to place them facing together. Go ahead and rotate this. Try to make those edges as straight as possible. Push it up tight against the other shells. Helps if you follow your own logic. So over here in the sheet, I put the top side of the fin on the top of this pair. But over here, I put the top piece of the fin at the, or the bottom piece at the top. So that might be confusing. So I should probably move this down and move this one to the top so that I'm following the logic I chose. I keep making the same choice in the same way. Again, if God forbid anyone else has to follow you and do your work or add stuff, if it's really confusing for them, it'll slow down your team. So you want to try to be as straightforward as you can.
Can you print the UV editor?
What?
You have that layout right there, like, wait, I get the picture, can you print it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have it on paper, and then you can write a front.
Oh, you could, I guess, yeah. We're gonna stamp it out, and then we're gonna bring it in, straight into Photoshop.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring these exact wires right into Photoshop.
On what?
Okay. How you guys doing with that? Pretty good? Cool. Let's move on to this front. I hate when my phone goes off, but there's nothing. No notification. It's like, why? Why'd you bug me?
Because it's the monkey.
I think I turned on debugging mode. It's maybe those are error logs, but I'm not. I don't remember. Okay, so I'm going to start with the front side of this here. So I'll find that front piece. I'm going to move it up here, and I'll put it on. I'll put it on the right side. So that piece, start on the right. And now I'm going to find the left panel. So, you know, if this was a clock, you know, the front panel would be 12, the side panel would be 3, this is 6, and this is 9. So I'm going to try to kind of work in a clockwise fashion. So this would be our front. This would be the next piece of our circle as around here. So this piece I'm going to take, I'm going to move up and put right here. And I'm actually going to sew these pieces together. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I found the front piece of the bridge, and I found the second piece, the side piece, on the clockwise around. And what I'm going to do is I move them really close together. I mean, Maya doesn't care where they are, but it just makes more logical sense to show you this way. With these selected, I'm going to right-click and go to Edge Mode. And you guys see how the edges select in parity? Because they're the same set of edges, they share them. I'm going to select all three. And you'll see mine all highlight purple, and they change to purple for you.
On the one on the left, how do you know which is the top and which is the bottom?
Like up here, like this is top.
Not that, I know that one's easy, but the other one's a square, so.
When you highlight the edge, it'll show you. So like right here,
Oh,
click it,
okay, okay.
and you see it highlights the top edge.
You gotta do edge.
Yeah, edge helps there. So I'm gonna bring these two close together, and I'm gonna select their common shared edges. Oops, sorry. Like that. You can see how they highlights on both sides of that gap. That's because they are the shared edge.
How
Now I'm
can
gonna
we
go
tell?
into the cut sew in the menu bar, cut and sew, and choose move and sew. That's the second to last option, move and sew. Now what that's gonna do is move one piece to merge into the other and then sew them together.
Now, how do we come up with the size that could be connected together?
How do I know?
Yeah.
Well, if you right click and go into edge mode,
Right click. Okay.
right click, go to edge mode. And if I randomly select a piece, so if I select the other edge of the side, you see how it highlights here, but also here? That's how I know those two pieces are connected.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So likewise, if I click on the other side of this, it highlights on that one.
Where's the movement so at?
It's under the cut sew option.
Just go
Cut sew, that's the second from the bottom.
there.
So,
Huh? This goes there.
I don't think it's in the panel. For some reason, I don't think it's over here. I think it's only in the menu bar. Which I'm like, that's really useful. Cool. Why is it not up there? I guess they're stitched together. Maybe that.
So if they're different sizes, as far as whatever, am I supposed to enlarge it or is it going to connect anyway?
You want to scale them to be roughly the same size.
All
I
right.
haven't scaled mine yet, so they should be automatically the same. So you said movement and stitch together is the same as movement sew? Okay. So Joey's saying stitch together here under the cut and sew is the same. It looks like it is. I'm really curious why they don't call it movement and sew.
So we're going to have to.
So I'm just gonna stitch the whole tower, the sides of the tower, I'm gonna stitch them together. So I'm gonna find the next piece, that should be this back. If I highlight it with shell mode, you can see it right there. And honestly, I don't think you even have to move it. So if I just go to edge and select these edges, they're shared edge. You see how they're not even close? If I do move and sew, or stitch together, look at it, it just moved it, rotated it, snapped it in place. And I'll do that with the same, with this other last side. So right here, select the piece I want moved and click move and sew, or stitch together, boom, it pops it right over there.
For some reason, my sizes are different, I don't know why.
Okay, try it. Just moving them close together and then scale them.
Oh yeah, they
Look the same.
did. They automatically go together. I guess.
Turn off your-
Let's see. Now where's the other piece?
Okay, so I think your scales are off. See how they're different sizes? Yeah.
I'm
So
lost.
go into shell mode and then scale
Yeah,
them so
just
they're
that.
the same. That's probably why you want to move them together.
Like the
What's up?
like stitching together,
Okay.
When I stitch it, I'll flip it.
So yours is flipped already. It needs to be.
Oh, so this one's.
Watch,
actually
like,
on
yeah,
the
when the, well, no, it can go on either side, but see how that one is highlighting that one?
Yeah.
Those are the shared edges, so I would select this shell, and then go to, under transform, do a flip it. Yeah, now it's, go back to edges and see. And now when you do that stitch together, they're in the same orientation. So one was pointing up, while the other one was pointing down.
All right, thank you.
What's going on there?
Okay.
Oh man, yours is way out. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this AC down a little bit. That's probably.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I need,
Matter of fact,
are you,
Mind if I give you some pointers real quick?
yeah.
Okay. So what I would do, zoom in a little bit. You're working far away. It's gonna make it hard for yourself. When we're doing UVs, you're mostly concerned with the edges, not the interior.
Okay,
So let's go back into shell mode. Shell selects the whole piece,
right.
and let's rotate this guy up. So we can use edges to kind of see which pieces should meet up. So yeah, these do look like they should meet. But what's happening here is this piece,
Mm-hmm.
it's saying it's connected to that top piece. It's actually like flipped. So what you got to do is flip this one around. They should be able to go in here and say flip along the. And now let's check. Now those edges are matching together.
Okay.
So you got to watch for that. The other thing is these pieces are smaller than this piece.
Right.
So what I would do, let's go ahead and straighten these edges out a tiny bit. And then I'm going to use shell mode again.
Scale.
W to let us move it over here. And I'm going to scale this guy down. So I'm just going to scale it down until it's approximately the same size. Maybe just a little bit more. Now they look pretty close together, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I move this one up there, let's scale this one up a tiny bit. Okay, so those look pretty good now. Now I'll go back to my edges and select the shared set of edges. You see how they highlight together?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to go over here and the other cut and
Stitch.
sew and stitch together. Boom.
All right, all right.
And then we'll do the same thing with this guy. Stitch together. There you go.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let me bring this up on the screen so I can show everybody. Because this has come up. So this problem has come up a couple times. It just depends on how your layout or your unfold went. Sometimes you go to like merge an edge and something's off. So I'm going to start on these smaller pieces right here. Okay. Or you know what, I can do it. No, I already worked on this. Okay. Just like this. Okay, so here's my two pieces of the bridge, right? Let me show you here on the model. So here's the front side of my bridge, and here's the adjacent wall, right? The next side of it. So we have front here, and then the other side. You might notice sometimes you go to merge these, and something weird happens. I'm going to show you exactly what that'll look like.
What
Okay.
the hell?
Alright, so this is what's happening, exactly what's happening for some people. You go to select your edges, they all select together, right? Cool, that looks good. And then you do your move and sew or stitch together, and it flips. It does something weird. What's actually happening is these edges are flipped. So I select this one, I select that top edge, it's selecting the bottom edge of that poly, or that shell. So what's happening is this polygon is facing up, and this polygon is facing down. It's upside down. So you can fix this really easy. Just go into your UV shell mode, select that whole shell, and you have two options. You can go into your panel and go into the transform tools. So I'm under transform. You have to scroll way down. There's a lot of tools in transform. And where it says flip. And so U is left and right. That's U. And V is up and down, vertical. So if I hit V and then hit flip, now I can go in, select my edges, and now you see how they match across. That's what you got to do. You want them to match across. And now I can do my move and sew or stitch together, no flipping or weird problems. There's a little bit faster way of doing it if you need to flip your shell. So I'll bring this next shell over here. This is the back side. And you can see right there, they're not lined up. The bottom on this one is the top on that one. So what I can do is with shell mode, I'm gonna shift and hold right click, and it brings up some new tools. And I can just go to the flip along feet and flip it right that way. And now you can see they line up better. The real answer though was to move this over there and rotate it back. For the purposes of demonstration.
What's it here?
Okay, so that did happen to you? And you just want to fix it? Okay. So it's between these two pieces, right? All we gotta do is select these edges again. And go to. So now they are separated. Right? So it did get a little messed up, so what we probably want to do though, is we can just reach it. So it's big, it fills up the whole sheet when you do that. We can scale that down. Okay. So now let's see what's going on in the directions.
They would be like soda? Yeah. Oh, you mean I'm putting them next to
I
each
think
other?
what's happening is this is
Oh, yeah, right click and go to UV shell.
It says you already, and then
Bless you. I could be
now
able to
we'll
do
go
this.
right. Yeah, you hear each other there. Together.
Yeah, it is. There's that.
Let's reproject this one.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Maybe.
I don't like always in pairs, it makes a perfect square, and stuff like that.
I don't think
Let's try it out. That's better, that matches the
I can tell you how to do that. It's something different. I don't know myself.
Now this one, probably better to switch it together. Yep. Got it. What is that? What is it? Oh. This piece. Oh, you want to find this piece side, that side. Okay, so we can select it here, the viewport, and then we should see it out here. Oh, it didn't get textured. Okay, this happened to me too. So what we'll do is we just have that shell selected. because it's the only untextured portion, right? So if we select it, it should highlight. And then we go to create, and we'll just hit automatic. And it automatically will lay this out for us nice and square. And I'll rotate it for us. Yeah, when you do those projections, it tries to fill the whole square. So you almost always have to come in and rescale it a little bit. Yeah, we just created an automatic. And that's because we've done almost all the texturing already, so it's easy for it to guess the light a little bit. And then we go to edge, line up those edges.
Wow.
Cut, so. There you go. It's really work, right?
So,
Yeah. It's good. It's even like, it'd be better if we could get these bigger. That's why they usually get packed diagonally. That is kind of a pain sometimes too. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. All right, so I'm just gonna keep working around the ship here. I need to finish the, so I've done this part, the tower. I need to do the bridge still. Move these guys into place. I think the things that I'm gonna want big, I want the fuselage as big as possible, the nose cone. The propeller blades don't need to be quite so big. I would like to make the tower and the bridge part, these parts bigger, so I could maybe put like writing on them, like USS Navy or a number. Put windows, even though you don't have windows in the submarine.
Hey, you never know, they might.
Like,
Windows could have a submarine, we just don't know about
Why
it.
is that? Jeff, what's your, no, I'm saying Jeff. What does your top one look like?
Top
It
one.
has the very top piece.
this one,
Yeah, no, that plate thing.
that thing.
Not the tower thing, not the thing going up, not the
This?
antenna or the thing, the top plate.
That
right
one.
there. Where's?
You was just on
Yours
it.
looks normal.
All right, if you're like some people, like it might get messed up. Like if your edge gets moved all weird or something that's messed up, that's okay. If that happens, just select that piece and go to create automatic. When you have everything split up like this, automatic does a pretty good job. And then you have to scale it back down to match everything else, but it should be fine.
So we just click it.
And then create automatic. It's a good time to turn on your grids though to make sure all the squares are the same.
Select it,
What's that? You don't want to delete your UVs. Well, that one's a different piece. So that one's the back side of that tower. The other piece is the top. You need to rotate this piece. Oh, actually, you can see I have that problem where they're mirrored. So I'll select this bit, and I'm gonna say flip it in V. Now I should be able to line my edges up. I'll go ahead and move it so. And like, you don't have to have these all sewed together. It's just nice because, like, say you wanted like a red line to go along the top as like a warning or like a watch your step thing. You can do that really easy in Photoshop where they're all just together. Just make that one line and it's totally seamless around the edges.
What the hell just happened?
The goal is to make it as easy as possible to get the photo.
So, these two pairs, these two.
That piece, that piece.
I know it's not the most thrilling, exciting stuff, but when I think of my days unloading trucks and folding clothes and stuff, like this seems way better. It's like listening to music be left alone.
Peaceful.
Yeah. People see you doing this like, I don't want any part of that. It's like weeding, right? You go outside and I do yard work, nobody bothers me. Afraid to ask for help.
Till you're about done, hey, you need some help? Oh, Daddy, you did.
Yeah, clean everything up, I'm tired now.
Oh, you just missed all the fun.
My dad would do, he'd go mow a lawn and then be like, Dad, I didn't help him. I'm like, you didn't ask.
I shouldn't have to.
Yum.
My mom's the same way. It's like, yo, why didn't you come out and help me? Like, you never asked.
Bless you.
I should have, or you did want me to stitch them together, right?
Yeah, did it.
Alright, yeah, I did.
I didn't,
that.
I'm not sewing them together.
Alright, now.
Do a not, go to create automatic. Yes.
People help me tell me I messed up my model.
Messed up your model?
I
Did
messed
you
up
actually
my-
transform part?
Yeah, it went wrong.
Oh, sure. Was that very recently or a long time ago? Oh, you know what? That's not right. Here's something of these things. There. Okay. Knowing me, I probably modified it on 0, so. This is X. Nope, that was wrong. Never mind. Okay, yeah, so that's perfectly lined up. Okay.
You can't get a seat yet.
Can't do what now?
You can't sit down yet. Underneath this part. What is that right there you got selected?
That other little strip?
Yeah, is that on mine?
This piece?
Yeah.
That piece is this top row. So this piece is right here, and this little piece is this piece. Just all laid out flat.
I'm trying to see what's what. Did I connect the, how do I disconnect if I connect it? Oh, it's already. But like when I go in the edge.
Oh wait,
mode,
hold on. Yeah, I see what you're.
These two are selected like they're together, but they're
So
not.
I'm only going around the walls. I don't want to connect the roof.
Okay.
So what's happening here is this piece, you accidentally welded the roof. I'll frame that. You welded the roof to the side.
Okay.
So what we'll do is select the edge that connects them and then hit cut. And now they're separate pieces again.
Okay.
So I'll move this over here. This kind of got messed up, so what we should do to fix that is do another projection. So create projection automatic. It always makes it really big,
All right.
but that's okay. We can go ahead and just scale it back down. And then we can move it over here off to the side or something.
All right.
So the pieces you want to connect look like this one,
that one and that one.
that one, and that one. So I move this here. If that's your next piece, let's move it this way. And see how these guys look.
I know, right?
Check that piece out, and then that piece should be something like that. And then we'll check the edges to make sure they're right. So it looks like the edges aren't totally lining up here.
Okay.
So what we gotta do is, looks like we need to move this one over here and rotate it. And let's move this one over here and we'll rotate it as well. Now see those edges line up better. Oh, they don't. I should have left it. There we go. Now they're lined
Now
up.
they're lined up.
So let's do that here. Let's move this here. Check our edges. So this one does need to be rotated.
Okay. Okay.
And then